I think a lot of people have the misconception that working in a library is really easy because it's quiet and all you have to do is read books. Especially since I work in children's services, neither of those are true. But I think there's also this idea that there's no real drama in, the bookland and writing. Yeah, Hollywood has tabloids all about who's breaking up with whom and the nanny and things like that, but generally, I think books and readership are thought of as being generally safe. But, apart from the whole Hugo's, sad puppies, rabid puppies, puppies of your choice kerfuffle, there have been two kind of, not really like scandals, but just points of conflict in the book world recently that I wanted to talk about and share some related books. So one of them relates to a school library a high school, in Charleston, South Carolina, that had some optional reading for teens, and one of the books on the list was Courtney Summers' Some Girls Are, which is a very honest portrayal of what it's like to be a girl in high school. I've read it. I love it. I think everyone should read it, but because one parent thought it was smutty, and kids don't do that sort of thing, which if you believe that, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Anyway, and it was just pulled. So I'm not quite sure if people understand yet that the best way to get teens or kids to read a book is to restrict access to it. But Courtney Summers is a fantastic writer. Everyone should read her books. And we want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to read Some Girls Are. So my friend Kelly Jensen, who is over at Stacked Books and also at Book Riot, put together a campaign to send copies of Some Girls Are to Andrea Amaral, who is a librarian at the Charleston Public Library, and make sure that teens can get them. So I'll put the link in the description box where you can send books to kids who really have the right to read them. So I thought I'd just highlight some of Courtney's other books, which are all equally amazing and very realistic and dark and just sort of blow your mind. This one, Cracked Up to Be, is about Parker Fadley, who was perfect Parker, and then suddenly she's on suicide watch and she's drinking at school and things are not normal anymore. She doesn't want to feel anything, and she's convinced that she's a bad person. But again, just this sort of microcosm of high school life, and it's really, really good. This one, Fall for Anything, is simultaneously about death and the sort of this passionate quest for truth that would blind us to what we might normally distrust. So Eddie, who's a girl, her father passed away and he was very into photography, and she meets a guy named Callum Culler, who says he was her dad's student and knows a lot about him. They get together, and then it might be that she trusted him too much. One of my favorites is kind of a departure, I would guess. It's called This Is Not a Test, and it's actually a book about zombies. But it's not really about zombies at the same time. So it's kids who are trapped in a high school gymnasium, and there's a zombie attack going on around. And just their interpersonal relationships and how they deal with things. The main character basically wants to die anyway, and this is her kind of figuring out that, maybe I do want to live, maybe. And that one actually has a novella sequel called Please Remain Calm, which is like 99% more zombies, which is a lot of fun. And finally, her newest one, which I featured before, All the Rage, which explores rape culture and shaming in America. I mean, like the world, but specifically in small town America. and how if, it's the good guy that he could never rape you, that you were asking for it, and how that basically destroys girls' lives. The other controversy is more in the adult romance world. So there are these awards called the Ritas, which are basically the Oscars for romance books. And a novel was nominated for 2 awards, and it is set at a concentration camp, and it is a retelling of the biblical story of Esther, using a Jewish woman who's a prisoner and a Nazi commandant. And of course, being a romance novel, they fall in love and things. And nobody seemed to think that this was offensive or inappropriate. Yeah. And then there's a magical Bible that makes her Christian, so there you go. But just to think about, yeah, I mean, the author completely was within her rights to write that book, but was it correct, like morally correct, to publish something like that when 11 million people died, 6 million of them Jews? So, no. For better treatment of that subject, I got a fiction book and then also some nonfiction that really puts it into perspective. This one, Rose Under Fire, is about a British pilot who's shot down in Germany and goes to Ravensbrück, which is the women's concentration camp, and what she sees there and endures there as a political prisoner, and with her, with the girls who are with her, who are called rabbits because of how they're being experimented on. It's a very powerful book. I would also recommend its companions, Codename Verity and Black Dove, White Raven. This one, The Nazi Hunters by Neil Bascom, is an adaptation of his book, I think it's Hunting Eichmann is the adult book. This is the YA adaptation. It's about what would become the Mossad in Israel, hunting down Adolf Eichmann, who was the architect of the final solution to just wipe out everyone who was in the concentration camps at the end of the war. He didn't think he did anything wrong. So these Israeli agents, many of them who had either been in a camp or lost someone very dear to them in a camp, and who have very special skills, end up going to South America and setting up this giant operation to capture Eichmann and bring him back to Geneva for justice. And it reads better than most novels out there, but it's true, and that's the scary part. So, I don't know, I just thought I would talk about some darker things, because it's important to talk about those things in books, and to question what you read, and to debate what you read, and to stand up for what you believe about what you read.